Hi, and welcome to another episode of Mompreneurs Making Moves. If you've ever tried to answer emails with a toddler pulling at your sleeve, or you wondered how to grow your business while chasing after your dreams and probably your kids, you're in the right place. Every week, we'll get real about wins, messes, and all those magical moments in between, sharing practical tips, honest stories, and the laughs that keep us going. So let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of Mompreneurs Making Moves. I'm your host, Imran Murdoch, owner and founder of Infinite Exec. And you're in the right place if you're an aspiring or thriving mompreneur who's ready for real talk in all things babies, business, and boundaries. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Mompreneurs Making Moves and watch the full interview on our YouTube channel, Mompreneurs Making Moves Official. Today we have a very special guest, very near and dear to my heart, Jillian Whitlow. She is the founder of her own company, Whitlow Consulting. I absolutely adore her. We worked together before and on a team setting, and I've asked her for help individually as well. Very professional, very authentic. And if you're not following her on LinkedIn, you definitely need to just go ahead and look her up right now, Jillian Whitlow, and just follow because you won't want to miss what she writes. Jillian, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well. If we're, here and being real and being honest, we've been chasing babies all morning, but we're here and ready to have this conversation. Thank you so much for having me. I adore you too, and I'm really excited to be here chatting with you.
Oh, no, I am honored. And when you say chasing babies, paint the picture for our listeners because they don't know how many kids you have, what are their ages. Like, talk to us a little bit about what is your current family dynamic right now?
Sure. So my oldest is a little bit over 3, and then I have a 21-month-old girl and a 16 or 17-week-old baby. And it's funny that I'm even questioning that because with my first, I knew probably like down to the minute how old he was, but it's hard to keep track once you have 3 of them. But yeah, this morning has just been, everybody went to bed a little bit early last night. We got up earlier than usual this morning, and it was really nice outside, so the kids had a whole play date outside before they even got off to daycare. I've been feeding my youngest, pumping and bottle feeding him, and my husband and I have been splitting duties here, trying to make breakfast and cook for the day, and we just got finished putting the baby down to sleep. Now here we are.
Yeah, no, well, thank you again. We're so honored to have you with the time that you do have available. How do you stay motivated and manage your energy as a mompreneur and also parenting little ones? Like, how do you find pockets in the day to make sure you don't go insane?
Well, you're definitely making the assumption that I'm not going insane because I am every second of every day. But I think the staying motivated part is a lot easier than the balance part. So I have never been so motivated in my life as I have since I've had children, and they have really made me a better person. When I first became a mom a little over 3 years ago, my whole life shifted, and I think we all hear that before we become parents, and you can't really understand it until you do. And I've heard folks say as well that you will never find more ways to make money than you do when you start to have children, and with each child that we've added to our family, that seems to have been true. And so they are my motivation to keep doing better. I want to set a good example for them, but I also just, quite frankly, want to be able to provide for them and give them the life that they deserve. So the motivation piece is definitely not a problem. As far as finding ways to balance my own day, I haven't mastered that, especially since every day looks different. But I think probably the thing that's most contributed to sort of like getting through the day-to-day is finally accepting that every day is different, that kids are going to make you slow down. You can't force them to do things at your pace. You have to be willing to take more time to get out of the house, take more time to breathe and just do things with them and alongside them rather than trying to maintain the schedule that you once had. So even though I battle with it daily, I think sort of forcing myself to accept that and be grateful for it has helped me manage.
Yeah, no, I love that. And actually, that ebb and flow that you're talking about really messes with me even now because I'm a type A personality. I'm very organized. I like predictability. Most people aren't necessarily like that. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, go with the flow. It'll be fun. Let's see, get something new. And I'm like that sometimes, but most of the
Yeah.
time, I'm grounded and I just need a schedule and I need, and, obviously having kids, that goes completely out the window. Whether it's this stage I'm in right now with baby and it's feeding and it's, changing diapers and it's, oh, great, a blowout just happened and now we've got to do this and, oh, I forgot to do that. I think one thing, speaking of schedule, that makes this difficult, at least for me, is when you're trying to, you know, deliver for your clients as a business person and you may be falling short sometimes, or maybe you forgot to do one or two things. You know what I mean? And they're reminding you and they're expecting you to be tip top shape, but you're a mom now. And so you have mom brain and you have a kid constantly and you have these other priorities as well. What would you say to the mom who's struggling with being a business owner and a baby mom at the time, and they're
Yeah.
kind of falling short? They feel like they're falling short in both areas.
Yeah. I think it's not possible to be, well, I know it's not possible to be perfect in anything that we do. As far as our kids are concerned, being there with them and just being their mom is more than they could ever expect, more than they could ever imagine. It's more than, it's everything they need, just to be there with them, to do your best, to talk to them and apologize to them and be honest with them when you do feel like you've slipped up. With my first, I think I was under this impression that he didn't understand what I was saying if I would try to apologize or own up to something, or if I would try to have a conversation with him. But as I've seen him grow and my others, they understand, I think, more than we think they do. So trying to treat them like people and have honest chats with them probably goes a lot further than we think that it does. And I totally hear you about feeling like you're dropping the ball for your clients. Sometimes I feel that way every day. But what I have found is that my clients actually, I think for the most part, based on what they tell me, are so much happier with me than I think that they are. And it's this perfectionism that we have coming out in ourselves that's telling us that we're letting things fall. But I have put in a lot of work to own my mistakes or my shortcomings in a way that isn't groveling or solely apologetic. And I will thank them for their patience, or I'll thank them for working with me on a deadline. I will make sure that I'm honest with them if something will be taking a little bit longer than we had originally agreed upon. And then it's really important to me to deliver at the highest possible level. And so I've also, very consciously made the decision to work with clients who understand the position that I'm in, who understand that I am a mom first above all else, and who also understand that that's sort of my superpower. So
Yeah, I love that.
I feel really grateful to be in that position. I think not everybody has the flexibility to be choosy, I suppose, with their clients. But the more that I have become emboldened in speaking out and talking to my clients, and you mentioned my LinkedIn, I like to talk about how important it is for everyone to try to be empathetic and understanding to everybody's home situations, not just parents necessarily. I think it makes the world a better place. I think if the people that you work with are delivering what you've agreed upon at the end of the day, then that's really what matters. Who cares if they're doing it at the earliest possible hour in the morning before their kids get up, or well after they've gone to sleep? As long as they're making it happen, that's what really matters.
Actually, let's park there for a second. You're talking about not everybody has the luxury, you said, about choosing who they work with or their clients. And I think it's interesting because if there's anything I've learned, and since starting my business a few years ago, it is you literally will pay more if you work with the wrong people than if you just become choosy from the beginning, even if you can't seemingly afford it, and just work with the right clients.
Yeah.
because obviously the clients make your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there were some people that I tried to entertain for a minute because I was just in the beginning and I was like, look, I need this. I need to get this going. I
Yeah.
can't afford not to have it. But then I actually paid more for my time, my energy, my mental health. And then sometimes money wise, if they didn't feel
Yeah.
like they got what they wanted because our working styles weren't working, then I ended up having to refund the money. And then it
Mm-hmm.
cost me all of that plus money.
Yeah.
And so, and even now I have a huge, you know, I work with, obviously I have my team at Infinite Exec and they work with high level CEOs, but then I have my own clients I work with personally. And I've had to step out sometimes of my biggest contracts because it was not fitting what they needed. I could
Yeah.
not quite match in the way that they needed it. And so I made that decision to go ahead and help them transition to find what they need. But it
Yeah.
cost me financially.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently made a move like that. And it's tough, but
It's
at the
tough.
same time, I literally could not just keep going mentally the way things were headed. Um, I couldn't, I couldn't put myself under that duress with everything else that I'm doing with the baby and this podcast. And we, have another company my husband and I opened up recently, and there's a lot going on. There's no way I could do all of that and keep that stress with a huge
Yeah.
contract where we weren't aligned in the best way for what they need anymore. So having
Mm-hmm.
the courage to step out, even if it would cost me
Yeah.
more if I stayed and then just
Yeah.
didn't do well. And then we ended up parting ways anyways, then it would be sour taste.
Yep.
So it's tough being a
It's tough.
mompreneur.
It is. Those are all really good points, though, and I don't think I've put myself quite in a situation with a client that was completely misaligned, but I've had some that I knew were better aligned than others. And once I had this third baby, I took weeks off, just a couple of weeks off, but I did pause with some of those clients before he arrived. And it's sort of been like a nice mutual agreement that we wouldn't restart. So I think you're right. I mean, you have to learn those lessons sometimes because you're scrambling maybe. And I started my business just after an unexpected layoff. And so I didn't know what I was doing at all. I still don't, but I'm getting better at it every day. And I felt that I was a bit under duress at the time and just had to make something happen. But over time, if you keep pouring into your business and paying attention to what's working and what's not, then you'll start to allow yourself to be more choosy with the clients that you work with for the good of both of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want you to paint the picture of where you were at when you had that unexpectedly off. Where, like, how many kids did you have? What was your, partner's working situation like? Where were you guys at as a family? Paint that picture just briefly. And then what inspired you? What flipped the switch to say, you know what, I am going to start my own company?
Yeah. So we had 2 kids. Trying to think exactly how old they were at the time, but I was 8 weeks pregnant with my third, and the company that unfortunately had to do the layoffs was unaware at the time that I was pregnant with my third. My husband was working outside of the home, and he was a machinist, and there wasn't, I've always been the primary breadwinner, but he works extremely hard, but his trade just doesn't pay as much as I've been able to earn. And of course I was upset and stressed and frantic, and the weight of the world felt like it was on my shoulders as a mom to 2 with a third one on the way. And having been and always planned to be, I think, the primary breadwinner in our family, I was just sort of thinking, oh no, what, are we going to be okay? And the job market has been notoriously really difficult for a long time, especially for the profession that I was in, which was SaaS sales and customer success at the time. I had already been building an audience on LinkedIn, so I had a good community there. And because of that, I was able to pretty quickly get interviews where a lot of my peers in similar positions hadn't even been able to get interviews. So I was extremely grateful to have conversations with people, but it was clear immediately how just like insurmountably difficult it was going to be to find a job that would support my family, to find that job quickly enough for us to be okay. And so I actually want to mention this. One of the interviews that I did, I was asked if I was a mom first or an employee first, and it sort of took me back. And this person meant very well, because they were trying to paint the picture of what it looked like at that company at the time, which was a startup, and they needed people that were ready and willing to work 70, 80 hours a week, all hours of the morning and night. And, I had a lot of people who mentioned what an inappropriate question that was. I think there are moments where that's incredibly inappropriate. I truly believe that this person meant well, but I knew, obviously, in my bones that I was always a mom first. And after that interview, that's when I was like, okay, I have to get out there and do something on my own. I don't have confidence that I'm going to find something that can replace this salary quickly enough. We just have to see what we can do. And at first, I was thinking I might even, try to take on a few clients while continuing to job search. But I call it luck, maybe a little bit of skill, a little bit of networking, but things took off really quickly for me, and I just haven't looked back. But it's been nearly a year now. We're 1 month away from the year anniversary of that layoff. I have a long way to go in terms of organizing my business and even being able to talk about it in a way that's eloquent and put together and paints a picture for people. I need a website, all these things that if you intended to set out to build your business, you might do from the start. But again, I'm really grateful that I was pushed to take that leap, that I had to take the leap, because I'm enjoying myself. I have more freedom, and I'm working harder than ever in my life before, but I think it's where I'm meant to be.
Yeah, I love that. And really quickly, talk about what you do. Like, what is J. Whitlow Consulting, and how are you making money from home as a mompreneur?
Emma is putting me on the spot here. I just told you I was having a hard time talking about this.
It's okay. Just give like a general, okay, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that,
I'm totally messing with you. So I think one thing that I want to work on, though, is niching down my offerings. But the primary motivation behind the business in the beginning was that I've always really enjoyed writing, and I got in with Sam Sales Consulting, who does LinkedIn executive branding for high-profile executive clients at high-profile companies. And so I'm really grateful I started working with her just maybe a month before as a contract worker, just a month before the layoffs, and have been learning so much from them since. But I always enjoyed writing on LinkedIn. I found that it was helping me grow my network quickly, and executives there get a ton of attention for themselves, but more so for the companies that they run. So I work with much smaller clients focus in the maternal health space, helping them bring their thought leadership to LinkedIn to grow their LinkedIn audiences, increase their visibility and their credibility behind their brand, and then help them form partnerships by growing their networks, partnerships, podcast appearances, speaking opportunities, sales opportunities. So that's what I'm really focused on there. And then I also have done some general copy editing and copywriting. I edit a newsletter and magazine. And then I have a client that I do customer support consulting for as well, because I have a lot of that in my background. So ultimately, it would be good to niche down a little bit, but I really love all of the different things that I do right now.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. You said you had a hard time putting it together. You just told me, literally. You just told me. I was like, come on. Okay,
I've been working on
good. Well,
it.
you got it. You got it. That is awesome. And I know that
Thank
that's
you.
much needed and very valuable to a lot of executives and people who want to
Yeah.
be able to grow their network and their visibility. Because, being a business owner, we know that visibility really is everything. If you
Yeah.
can't get in front of the people who need you, you don't have business. So
Yeah.
that's literally like one of the most important things ever. And then even if you don't have a business, but you're just an influencer, you're a thought leader, to grow, your audience. I mean, talk to me about, you said that networking, having that LinkedIn audience helped you get interviews
Yeah.
almost immediately, when you needed that
It did.
help. And
It did.
so talk to me about growing your audience on LinkedIn. How do you do it? But also, how important has that been for you?
It's been huge for me. And when I started out, I really didn't know what I was doing. So, interestingly enough, when I first started showing up kind of consistently on LinkedIn, it was following the birth of my daughter, my second. And we were in a situation at the time where my husband had been promised parental leave, paid parental leave, and about for 6 weeks. And then they came back to us and said, oh, you haven't been here long enough. You have no paid parental leave. And on top of that, you will be penalized if you even take unpaid leave. So I'm home by myself with this new baby, second baby. I'm torn apart that my first is going to daycare, and I'm trying to figure things out with a new baby. And I don't know why. I don't remember what motivated me, but I wrote a post about it on LinkedIn, and it took off. It was my first experience with virality in any sense of the word, and I'm not generally a social media person with regards to Meta or TikTok or some of these other platforms, but it was a topic that people were interested in and passionate about, and all I could think was, how do I capitalize on this and build on this momentum? And so I talked to a few folks, and they said, just keep posting. And so it can be a bit of a slow burn, but the best way to grow your audience on LinkedIn is just keep showing up. And there's been a recent movement of that folks are calling weird LinkedIn. That's a lot of personal sharing, but like being funny about it and just talking about the existential crises that we're all experiencing in some way or another. But I think the best way, honestly, to grow is to be authentic, to share something of value, to teach something, or to start a conversation that is interesting and important to folks. And so, for example, in my case with that first post, it was about parental leave. And so I personally do a lot of things on LinkedIn, and advocating for parents is one of the biggest. But I share expertise that I've learned over time with regards to growing an audience on LinkedIn. I share about things that are important to me, like donating breast milk for families who need it to help their own babies. And so my audience is kind of eclectic because of that. And over time, I've just built this community of people that want to help each other. And so getting back to how I was able to get interviews, it was just because I sort of posted a very formal, here's what's going on, here's why I'm open to work. And I just had people reaching out to me immediately, like, how can I help you? Who can I introduce you to? And so that's obviously the beautiful side of social media, right? Building this community of folks that maybe you've never met in person, but they feel close enough to you to want to support in any way that they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And, there's so much we could dive into. I really wanted to take a moment for breastfeeding, pumping, but let's just take a moment and talk about traveling with kids, because that is its own thing.
Yes, it is.
And
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. Like, what are your biggest challenges, lessons? What are your top 3 tips? Whatever you feel like would be most helpful for our listeners who are thriving and aspiring mompreneurs who, travel is inevitable at some point. So,
It
yeah.
is, yeah.
What would you like to share on that?
Well, I guess I'll start with the first time I traveled for work away from my eldest, and I really didn't know what I was doing. And first I allowed myself to be devastated. I went back to work, sooner than I would have wanted to, and it was really hard. And he had his first laugh while I was away, and I'll just never forgive myself for that. But he laughs all the time now, so it's okay. But there's all sorts of tools that you can use to assist you as a breastfeeding traveling mom so that you can maintain your supply. And over the years, I've built a library of them. I have my Series chiller and my Baby Buddha pump that's very portable and helps me be on the move. But I think one of the biggest tips that I really have for a mom that's traveling with or without her kids is to lean on folks and be willing to ask them for help. And to allow yourself to destigmatize the things that feel uncomfortable in the beginning. So, of course, it's uncomfortable pumping breast milk on a plane next to strangers. And I personally brought a cover so that I could be a little bit more discreet. But I found that communicating to the people next to me, for the most part, people are very understanding and want to support you as a new mom. So that's probably my biggest overarching tip. And then there's, of course, the nitty-gritty of all the logistics that you can sort of figure out as you go. As far as traveling with kids, I think that a tip that I've already mentioned earlier, which is allowing yourself a lot more time than you think you're going to need. We took a work trip earlier this summer that was 1,800 miles one way, and we knew it would be a huge undertaking. My youngest was 6 weeks at the time. And it would have been about a 26-hour trip if you drove straight through, but we took 6 days to do it. And so we allowed ourselves to enjoy it. We made it fun for the kids. We didn't stress any of the times that we had to stop. Yeah. And then the biggest tip that I have is don't force yourself to listen to Wheels on the Bus or Baby Shark over and over again. My husband made this hilarious and interesting playlist of music from around the world in all these different languages, and the kids love it, and they ask for it all the time now, and they can listen to Wheels on the Bus at daycare, and then we'll listen to all this just really interesting, eclectic, global music that they think is wonderful, and we don't have to go insane. So
I love that.
That's my insider tip.
Yeah, no, that's great. And what do you do? One thing I've come across is when both parents are tired and you're together most of the time or enough of the time with all the kids, and it's just like you're both exhausted. You're like, hey, can you take this shift? Like, I just need a nap. Can you take this shift? Or, I've been with baby all day. I need a minute. Or they've been with baby all day, and now you've got to take on the baby. But as a breadwinner, I can speak to that too for my family. Yeah. You're like, I just finished working all day. Like, now you need to take baby stuff. Just got to keep working just in a different way. I mean, it's hard.
It's really hard.
Like, is that normal? Do we just accept it as the inevitable? There's going to be times we're all tired and just suck it up. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? It's hard.
It's hard. I think to some extent that really is the answer. Yep. I think that I have reminded myself over and over again that, and it sounds trite, but it is true. It's a season of life that we're in that we've chosen to be in, to have all these young children, and we're going to be tired for the next 20 years probably. But my husband and I have always had pretty good communication, but I think it's become even better since we've had all these kids, and we can, you can communicate with your husband without really even needing to say the words, and he'll see the exhaustion in my eyes and take the little one if he needs to, and vice versa. And so I think with each child, we've just become more and more in sync, because we know, right? We understand this list of tasks that has to get done every day. The kids have to eat every day. They have to get bathed every day. They have to do their bedtime routine and go to sleep every day. And that's going to be something we have to split all those tasks. We have to feed each other, or we have to eat ourselves every day. We have to work every day. So at the start of each day, splitting up those tasks the best we can. And I'm constantly struggling with it too, in terms of, because the business is so variable, I suppose. Every day we have all these different clients. Every day looks different, so it does make routine a little bit more tricky from time to time. But getting out ahead of that by communicating as much as you can about what there is to expect for the day, and then just being ready to take up the mantle for the other parent is the best you can do. And then accept that you sleep when you're dead, and you'll be good.
Okay, I love this conversation. I really could just talk like for hours with you, but I know we have to wrap it up. So I'd like to end with this last question.
Okay.
What is your best piece of advice for someone who's thinking about starting a business as a mom, and they're thinking about, okay, what can I do? I really want to pivot. I want to create something for me and my family. And I know I need to make a plan. I need to start somewhere. I need to think about my strengths. But what else would you add to that list for that mom to think about before they get into business?
I think try to have more faith in yourself than you're willing to in the beginning, because as we talked about, I don't know if I ever would have taken this leap if I hadn't sort of been forced to. But there's been no greater motivating factor for me than to provide for these little humans that I made, that my husband and I made. So you can do it. I think it's really important to lean on other moms as well. Sometimes I'll be having a really, really tough day, and I'm in a working moms group that you're familiar with, the Society of Working Moms. And I can just put something there like, I don't know, my kid was biting at daycare today. And it weighs so heavily on me. That's one example that weighs so heavily on me, even if I know it's developmentally normal, right? And we have all these things in our head for our business as well as our kids, and wanting both to be absolutely as great as they can. And something so small can unravel you a little bit. But if you have a community, or even just one or two other moms that you can talk about this mom thing that you're going through, it's super uplifting for me. Even just hearing, oh my gosh, my kid did that too, it's fine, it'll pass quickly, makes all the difference in the world to me. So just have that community that you can lean on to talk through things with, from both the business and the parent side.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate that. And where can we find you? I know we can find you on LinkedIn. Is there anything else that you'd like to mention?
LinkedIn would be it. Like I said, I'm really not a social media person otherwise, but please do find me on LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with folks there always. Would love to hear what you all are doing, and if I'm hugely into supporting other moms, so if I can, I'm here for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jillian. You're amazing, by the way. You're doing an amazing job, and I'm looking forward to even having you again in the future, and you giving us an update about how everything's going, because I know that this is just the beginning for you. So thank you for sharing with us all of your wisdom and authenticity and just transparency. It means a lot. And thanks so much for all you listeners for hanging out with us today on Mompreneurs Making Moves. If you found a little encouragement, a fresh idea, or just felt seen, we'd love for you to subscribe and share this episode with all of your mompreneur friends. And remember that every small step you take in your business and your life matters. And you're absolutely not alone on this journey. So keep showing up, keep making moves, and don't forget to take care of yourself too. Again, you can follow us at Mompreneurs Making Moves on Instagram and Facebook, and watch the full interview on our YouTube channel at Mompreneurs Making Moves Official. And we'll see you next time. I'm your host, Amraya Murdoch. Thanks again, Jillian.
Thanks for having me.